This is the Boys Gen V podcast from TV Podcast Industries, and we're talking about Gen V Season 1, Episode 6, Jumanji.
No matter how hard you try to be a hero, you'll always be a murderer to me. I'll never forgive you, and you shouldn't either.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I ruined everything. I didn't understand my powers.
Like you, Cate. You told me it wasn't my fault.
Welcome back, fellow boys and girls, to the Gen V podcast from TV Podcast Industries. We are not talking about the board game or the movie Jumanji. No, this is episode 6 of season 1 of Gen V, Jumanji. I am one of your hosts, Dirty John.
I'm your other host, Derek. Welcome back.
Yes.
You are keeping that moniker then, Dirty John.
At least for the boys podcast.
Of course.
Why not?
Of course. It suits them.
I think so. Yes, we have a podcast for you to talk about Jim Henson going X-rated, as well as many other things besides. But first, a campus-wide announcement. It is, fellow campers and boys and girls, it is to say a big happy birthday to Derek. Yes.
Yay.
My co-host here and partner is getting on for 50, shall we say.
That's harsh. That's harsh. Not 50 just yet.
No, but you keep talking about it. It's as though you are. That's why I said it.
Couple more years to go.
And you're trying to add a few years onto my age as well.
Well, we are 1 year apart. I'm 1 year older than you, and I thought I was 1 year older than I was, which meant that it made you almost 2 years older than you are.
I was doubting myself. I was wondering what on earth was going on when Derek seemed to be putting me much higher into the mid-40s than I actually am.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
I'm still 45.
Yes. Are you?
Yes.
Okay, grand. That makes me 46 still.
Yes.
And 47 tomorrow. Excellent. Okay. Good stuff. Because I think I told someone this week that I was 48 as well. So,
oh my goodness.
Still doing it.
Right.
Still
Okay.
doing it. Good stuff. So a couple more years before I turn 50 and a couple more podcasts before we turn 800 on TV Podcast Industries as well.
At least you said on TV Podcast Industries. Yes, indeed. Yes, we are not 800 years old.
No. It does feel like
hyaluronic acid hasn't quite been that powerful to prevent aging.
You are so aiming for that sponsorship.
I know.
Aren't you?
Come on, L'Oreal, get your act together.
Good stuff. We are not sponsored, though, by L'Oreal, not sponsored by anybody other than our wonderful Patreons and the wonderful listeners to the Boys Podcast and all of our podcasts.
Yes.
You know, the Boys Podcast, John, is our most successful podcast. It's the one that has the most downloads of any of the podcasts that we do. Usually in the region of 2 or 3 times as many listens as other podcasts that we have. And thankfully, Gen V has kept that trend up. And because of that, not because they listen to our podcast, but because of the popularity of Gen V, it just got confirmed for a second season yesterday.
Great news.
Yeah, so we will be getting a second semester of Gen V.
More adolescent and teenage, young adult filth on the way, I guess.
Absolutely.
As well as great storytelling.
Yeah, it's been really, really good, hasn't it? I'm so glad they got it confirmed for a second season. The big question, though, is will Godalming University survive to the end of this season? I'm not too sure whether it will or not, or whether the story will follow the kids rather than the actual university.
Yes, well, after this episode, Jumanji, we have only 2 more episodes to find out whether there will be a sort of wreck of a university campus after this, because things come to a head, should I say, in this episode for our students of Godolphin University that we're following. But before we get into our spoiler-filled discussion, remember, fellow boys and girls, you can head on over to our website at tvpodcastindustries.com to subscribe to any good or evil podcast player of your choice. You can also leave voicemails over there for our feedback section, because we love to hear from our fellow boys and girls as well. You can also send emails into feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com, or pop on over to our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/TV Podcast Industries, where you can leave thoughts, theories, observations on each and every spoiler post that we put up in the group for each episode of Gen V.
Absolutely. And once more, a reminder, we are conducting our Gen V student bar quiz. The 6th question for the student bar quiz will be available later in the episode. Gather together all 8 answers at the end of the season. Email them into us at feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com, and you could be in with the chance of getting your hands on some Gen V goodies.
Indeed.
I can't remember how announcements work. Do you do the sounder at the end of the announcements as well? I'm going to do the sounder at the end of the announcements.
I think it's at the beginning.
You don't do it on both ends, no? To show the
to close
opening
it
and
out.
close.
Yes, you do. Well,
See, I was right.
You do in a Butlins, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, good stuff. It's Heidi High. That's where we got it from
exactly.
last week's podcast, just in case you'd forgotten that you made me go out and find the sound for that. I did remember.
Or Grease as well.
Grease?
The movie, yes. The principal's secretary. She also had a little bit of music to start off the announcements through Rydell High.
Well, it was a musical, so everything had to have music associated with it,
Exactly.
I suppose. But I haven't seen Grease in about 15 to maybe even 20 years, thankfully. John,
now.
will we get into our discussion about Jumanji?
Yes, let us get into episode 6 of Gen V. Derek, who gave us what, when, where, how, and why?
Well, of course, the show was developed by Craig Rosenberg and Evan Goldberg with Eric Kripke. The showrunners for the show, again, as always, are Michelle Fazekas and Tara Butters, based in the comic series by Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson. The executive producer for the show, again, Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. This episode was written by Lauren Greer. She is an executive story editor in Gen V, previously a writer on the TV show Timeless, which was also created by Eric Kripke.
Nice. Excellent.
Yeah. Reward people for good work. If they work well, bring them along with you to your new shows, I guess.
Well, it makes sense. You know, partnerships in the creative industries tend to work, you know, that kind of wavelength of artistic creativity.
Exactly. And this episode was directed by Rachel Goldberg. This is her first episode of Gen V, but previously has done lots of TV work, including American Gods, Mayans MC, and Resident Evil, the TV show as well.
Excellent stuff.
Yeah. Lots of
nice
work there.
little CV there.
Absolutely. John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for Gen V Episode 6, Jumanji?
Sure. As Cate uses her powers to restore the memories she stole from them, Marie, Andre, and Jordan react to her betrayal, while Emma runs to find Sam. But the immense power she has used puts Cate into overload, dragging the rest into her mind. Inside her memories, they learn how Dean Shetty manipulated Cate into her experiments on Sam and Luke. But they also meet her imaginary friend, Soldier Boy, who tells them their lives are at risk if they don't get out of Kate's mind before it breaks for good. As their memories intertwine, they all learn each other's secrets. Andre had been cheating with Cate behind Luke's back. Jordan had known about Brink's involvement but chose their advancement at God's U over reporting it, and the extent of Marie's sister's anger at her killing her parents. Realizing all their problems stem from their parents' experimentation with Compound V, Marie tries to convince Cate that it's not her fault. She agrees to let them go, but Andre pushes her further, telling Cate she doesn't just get to walk away from all the harm she's caused. They return from Kate's mind in time for her to be threatened by Sam for her responsibility in his brother's death. Emma calms him down, and they confront the reality that Dean Shetty is behind it all. Meanwhile, Dr. Cardosa has been testing a virus he created on the fire suit Betsy, one of the occupants of the woods. When she's unable to use her powers, Dean Shetty asks him to increase the dose. the soup quickly dies, and Dr. Cardosa is concerned that he's failed Shetty, but instead she wants to know how quickly he can weaponize the soup-killing virus.
Ooh, a bit of a mega end to this episode. This is pretty huge. As we've seen throughout the Boys TV show, killing soups is very difficult to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Even Stormfront, that was pummeled, managed to survive on a hospital bed for quite a long time.
She did. Being subjected to some awful things from Homelander
from
while
Homelander.
lying there. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Poor old Betsy, the fire starter, certainly didn't look very well.
Well, absolutely.
By the end.
Yeah, that kind of takes us on to our first moment from the episode, John.
Let us get into our freshman or minor moment from this episode. A soup-killing virus. I don't mean tomato or chicken soup. I mean superheroes from this world.
Yes, absolutely. I know it's the end of the episode, and it is a minor moment. But it is a major moment for this show and the Boys, I think, as well.
It's a little big moment.
Yes, it is. It is. But yes, you mentioned Betsy. Interestingly, we actually saw Betsy earlier on in the season when the food was being delivered, that Emma was on the tray trying to get into Sam's cell. We see them knock open the cell door and some fire shoot out, and the attendant there shouts back to Betsy to calm down. She just needs to get her food. So that was Betsy, the fire soup that we saw earlier on in the season. But now she's getting pretty bad treatment here. She's getting experimented on by Dr. Cardosa here, giving her effectively a kind of a flu virus. It seems like, which is taking some.
Is it his compound V?
It's exactly. It only hits compound V, but it's giving her the flu, but it's also taking away her power. She's unable to use any powers in the room with Shetty and Cardosa.
Yeah, exactly. I love how these scenes with Cardosa and Shetty and Betsy, span across this episode, and it begins with this virus in order to compassionately control soups. But after Shetty sees this, she wants to see how sick they can actually make them before submitting this report to Vought. So it almost sounds like, this is a Vought project as well, which is interesting. I think they realize they need a way of controlling their employees.
Well, absolutely.
Probably Homelander in particular, given what's going on. But,
and remember, Ashley's in charge of Vought, and she knows the full extent of what all these soups are actually like. So she's probably looking for some way to give her the upper hand before she pulls all of her hair out with all the things they do to her. So yeah, there is that conversation between the two of them where Dr. Cardosa is saying, pretty much ready now. I'm going to send over the details to Vought, and Shetty's saying, no, stop. Keep pushing it. Push it further. I want to see how far it goes.
Yeah, definitely. The other interesting thing here is that seemingly Polarity, Andre's father, also knows about the woods and what's going on. As we do hear Andre referencing him saying how much of a coward he thinks his father is.
Yeah.
But ultimately, does Polarity know the extent of this work? Maybe as far as compassionately controlling soups, but this additional add-ons to the testing being done by Cardosa, to increase the dosage and ultimately to see what happens, seems to be coming directly from Shetty here.
Yeah, it is.
And I guess that is to cover the full span of stuff that they need to report back to Vought, but it ends up where you hear that, the dose where it just makes Betsy unable to use her powers is like after 2 days. And then you hear that whatever Cardosa has created is really, really potent, because I didn't even up it that much.
Exactly. Because
Betsy is looking, she's very dead, but also looking very postulating, and about to explode. So they've really killed her. Absolutely. And then you get, I want to weaponize it.
Yeah. Looking forward to how would you make it contagious? Yeah. So effectively get it into the bloodstream, get it into the air, and maybe take out all of the soups. It seems to be Shetty's idea.
Within the episode, it's gone from compassionately controlling the soups to how sick can we make them to how can we make this contagious? effectively weaponizing it if need be.
Yeah, exactly. On the question of polarity, Andre's dad, I do think you're right. I think he's probably aware that there's some experimentation going on, and potentially for him, it's about thinning out the herd a bit. You know, this idea that he wants to be number one, he wants his son to be number one. So the idea that maybe you could knock off a few superpowers, so that there's nobody else competing with the ones that want to be in the 7 or the ones that they choose. That might be polarity's idea, but I don't think anybody knows how far Shetty's going here.
Yeah.
Dr. Cardoza is really apologetic that he's killed Betsy. He thinks that he's going to get fired, or he thinks he's going to get retribution taken against him by Shetty when he does kill her.
Yeah.
And then it turns out this seems to be what Shetty actually wanted to happen. So that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent stuff. Yeah, a really important point for this series. So yeah, small but perfectly formed.
Yes.
I think our freshman moment for this episode.
Yeah, just one quick thing though. What if she does make it? And what if it falls into the hands of Billy Butcher rather than into the hands of Shetty's associates?
Well, that's the other side. Yeah, so it could be setting up for Billy Butcher.
Yeah.
Yes, and
Season
the boys.
4 maybe, yeah. And then if they have a weapon that's capable of killing any soup, yeah.
Yeah, everything's connected.
Could be.
As they say in another comic universe. I wonder which one. But let us get on to our sophomore or medium moment from this episode. Yes, Emma and Sam get it on.
Yes, they reunite after Emma gets all her memories back. We see that at the beginning of the episode. Kate's giving everybody their memories back. I do love that moment as we see the flash through everything that's happened to Emma that's been removed from her memory by Cate. And then she just goes, thanks so much for making me relive all of that. So she's seen all of those memories in a couple of seconds, but she rushes out to meet up with Sam. And finally, they commit to their relationship, and have sex together. Sam, of course, having been locked in the woods for, since he was about 12, right? 10 or 12, maybe even younger than that. We don't know actually when he got locked in first time, but he's been there forever, and saying his only sexual experience has been his hand, which is accomplished, but he would like to have real sex.
Absolutely. We get a fantastic, I think, slag on Heartstopper.
I think it's definitely a comment on Heartstopper.
Yeah, it is, which I really liked, where we get the music, or one of the big songs from Heartstopper playing.
Yeah, Delete the Kisses by Wolf Alice, which became really big after Heartstopper. A lovely show, an absolutely gorgeous show, nothing like Gen V at all. But it's really about a show about two kids who fall in love, and when their hands touch, it's absolutely beautiful. It's lovely moments. Whereas here we've got effectively two characters banging to the same song.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Something that would never happen if Heartstopper went on for like 20 years. You would never have a scene like this.
Well, it's a different kind of approach to looking
a lovely romantic show
at people's sexuality.
Exactly.
Whatever it is on that spectrum. So, so it's certainly a nod to that, and I think a slag on it, basically.
Absolutely. Either that or Wolf Alice are going for the true 4-quadrant audience for their music.
Yes,
and
I
going,
would
right,
say so.
We've got the Heartstopper crowd, now we're going for the Gen V crowd for this great song.
I mean, or a riff, I guess. It's a riff on it. But this is them getting it on. And I thought this was quite cute, really. You know, Emma saying to Sam, I missed you. And it going into them sort of experimenting and having sex. But ultimately, we have Sam getting his visions of Emma as a puppet.
Oh,
we even get the Titanic moment as well, of the hands pouring down the glass, the steamy glass of an arcade cabinet, which I thought was really funny. But I mean,
I thought it was hilarious.
It was so funny. So I mean, while Sam saw a puppet, it seems as though Emma saw God. Which, it is quite a reputation that Sam has done in a very short space of time. And I think there were like 14 times. And then we have the joke that I don't think I could do that 24/7, maybe 23/7.
It's very good.
And I'm like going, the youth.
Absolutely, yeah.
No worry, not worried about hips, back, sort of knees. Sort of having to take, I don't know, cod liver oil capsules as prior prior to the event in order to lubricate. Not that I'm suggesting, fellow boys and girls, that this is what we do.
We've also established we're not 50 yet, but yeah, it is closer to 3-7 rather than 23-7.
But I was like, oh my goodness.
He's also established himself, obviously he got some good training from the hand, I guess. If she saw God 14 times, but I do love when Sam reacts to it and goes, I saw, and then pauses going, maybe I shouldn't tell her I saw her turn into a puppet while I was having sex with her. Really good.
Maybe he shouldn't be doing that. But yeah, or maybe, given it was 14 times, maybe his hand hadn't been in operation for quite some time.
Maybe.
Possibly because he was strapped down on a desk being operated on or transfused with blood, like we see as well,
Wow, way to take the mood down there, John.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying,
Yes.
They, in a sense, took the mood down a bit themselves, but it was more of a cautionary post-sex, Sam sort of struggling with the fact that he feels he's messed up and that maybe Emma shouldn't be with someone like him and should be with someone else. And again, cutiness sort of just continues with Emma saying she doesn't want to be with anyone else but him. And so it's all like really good. I mean, even to the point where Sam is like saying, I wish we could run away from here and just spend our life together. So, this relationship has developed humongously quickly.
Well, yeah.
Really fast. But Emma's like, no more running. Go, Emma.
Absolutely. I do wonder, because it is something you say when you fall in love for the first time with your first big love. And again, Sam hasn't been with very many people, but when he goes, I'm really messed up, and Emma goes, so am I don't think the two of them are on the same level of messed up, though. He's been experimented on for 10 years. And yes, she has had some bad times. Don't get me wrong. We've seen a lot of them so far, but I don't know whether they're on the same level of messed up. And I do wonder if we are going to see Sam go over the edge towards the end of the season.
Maybe,
I wonder.
Maybe different levels of messed up. I mean, ultimately, Emma was jockeying a pink rocket only earlier.
She was.
Because she was in need of a physical relationship. Episode 1, it was all about the threesome.
Yeah.
So, she is, the hormones are running through her.
Absolutely.
She is literally electric. As is Sam, because he's been cooped up as well. Hormones running amok.
Absolutely. Yes, in the first episode, she said all she wanted was a threesome from college, and now she could have her perfect love. Let's keep the romance in there, John. Good stuff.
I think so.
Yeah, good stuff. But yeah, definitely had to call that out. Really liked that scene. I thought it was a good opposite, I guess, to everything else that's going on in the show. Just again to kind of say, Sam does see this all the time. His brain goes to puppets quite often.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it'd be great sex education to have puppets.
To do it with puppets,
exactly.
Yes. Not if the crew from Gen V are involved. It would get very graphic.
The Muppets,
maybe adults only sex education puppeteering there. Yeah.
Jim Henson and the Muppets missed a beat there. They could have been a sex education for teenagers.
Maybe. Sesame Street Nights, I guess.
Exactly. Could all be in red. Anyway, let us get on to our senior moment, our major moment of the episode. Yes, inside of Cate's mind.
Yeah, I noticed when we were watching it today that it does reference the fact that in season 3 of The Boys, a similar scene happened to Billy Butcher, where he was drawn into his memories and into his mind to kind of explore his past and what happened to him and made him the way he is. I really like that's not the tack they took here with Cate, that she effectively drags them in to her mind. And you think it's going to be just about exploring how Cate got to the point that she's at. And you do learn some of that. But a lot of this is actually about exploring everybody else's parts that they played within this story. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, right from the outset, I think and it overarches all the scenes. It is the theme for this adventure into the mind of Cate, with Andre, Jordan, and Marie, because right from the start, after Kate's given everyone's memories back, Andre and Maria are trying to work out, was Cate used and abused and manipulated by Shetty, or is she a part of it? And this is really what is partially explored within the whole Jumanji of being in this other world outside of reality within Cate's mind. And it is, it looks at Cate, and undoubtedly she was not only by Shetty, but her mum. I mean, the moment actually when Shetty arrives to Cate's house and you see that she's been locked in her room, bolted in her room by her parents after the incident with her brother Caleb, where you see her mum saying, I don't feel safe with her. She's pleading to the policeman there who's trying to sort of take this young girl away, don't come any closer. They're fearful of Cate because of what she can do. And they've effectively incarcerated her in her own house for such a long time. And Shetty becomes a ray of light for her. She says, I don't fear you. I trust you. Your brother's disappearance was a really terrible accident. Gives her pills to make the voices stop in her head. So, this idea that she has been with these thoughts. We see here that Cate's powers are actually really powerful because when she blacks out, because of all the manipulation that she's been doing with people's minds, she's also been able to draw in the minds of Andre, Marie, and Jordan into her own and trap them. So she's immensely powerful, and you see the fear from her parents because of that incident with Caleb. And Shetty is that first ray of light, gets her to take off the gloves. But it's, so as a young, impressionable person that's had that done to her, Shetty is someone that she can trust. But that Shetty is this master manipulator because we've seen her trying to do that with Marie.
It's almost like her superpower. Yeah. Absolutely.
So I kind of really liked how that overarching theme of, was she effed over by Godolkin, by Shetty, or is she a part of it? And she's both. And I think we can come back to how it plays out, as we move through her mind, because we do get to see Soldier Boy.
Yes,
Yay.
we do. Jensen Ackles back in the role as Soldier Boy. I thought this was really, really good, especially because it's an idealized version of Soldier Boy. This is supposed to be her boyfriend inside her mind. But still, he's an a-hole. Like, he's still not the nicest of people,
Yeah, Jensen Ackles here was fantastic because Soldier Boy just races in to this episode in the mind of Cate, just like a whirlwind.
Absolutely.
And before you know it, he's been blown up by a strike of lightning on him, but he was obnoxious. He was offensive. He was everything that you wouldn't want to take home to meet your mother.
Absolutely, but particularly,
bad boy.
I thought particularly offensive towards Andre, because Andre's the new person sleeping with her. It's almost like this version is the jealous boyfriend inside Cate's head, which I thought was really funny. And the idea that, he talks about the fact that he's the one that encouraged her to try masturbating for the first time.
Explore her masturbation. Exactly. Her imaginary friend. And I think, he's also the point of reference here. And I think that's really good, because it could have been done so kind of standard in a way. But because it's all surrounded by this, offensive, irreverent kind of stuff just spewing out of Soldier Boy's mouth. This is the exposition where Soldier Boy says, you need to figure out how you can get out of here before she dies and doesn't wake up. Because if she does before you are able to get out of her mind, you will become a vegetable like she will. And again, offensive, because it's like you'll become one of those vegetables, And so, but it's just how it's delivered in the skin of Soldier Boy. It's just really, really good. And just, he spews out loads of classic pillow talk lines and so on.
Absolutely. But also referencing what we know about him from The Boys season 3.
Yeah, exactly.
The fact that he was brainwashed by the Russians. Dusty says this to him, and he has just the classic line of, "I'm red-blooded, not commie red, white and blue red. I fart the Star-Spangled Banner." And Dusty's challenging him. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, it was really good.
Because again, he wouldn't know any of this. This is the imaginary version in Kate's mind of Soldier Boy. I thought
exactly.
That was really good.
I mean, what a cameo. I loved this. I loved Soldier Boy being here. I mean, who else would be her imaginary friend? So yeah, superb.
And once again, as we see with Eric Kripke and the shows that he does, you know, the cast of Supernatural spreading far and wide across loads of other shows, and loads of the cast that came into Supernatural as guest stars coming from loads of other shows that he's worked on. So he obviously has a good relationship with them all. Looking forward to seeing some more. I think Jeffrey Dean Morgan's coming into to The Boys season 4, who starred in the first couple of seasons of Supernatural. He's coming into The Boys next year. So great to see Jensen Ackles in here.
Yeah. The other interesting thing here is that, you know, I said about Andre, Marie and Jordan, but we do have another passenger in Kate's mind here as well. Poor old Dusty, who is along for the ride.
Yes.
And
so Dusty, the guy who's no longer going to school, looks like a 13-year-old, is closer to 30, has his own house on campus, which is the party house. I just thought there was an interesting moment. I don't know why it was there, because we don't know anything about Dusty other than he clearly smokes a lot of weed and takes a lot of drugs and drinks a lot. But there's just a funny little touch to him as the three of them are running to follow through Kate's mind, and he's slowing up, breathing really hard and telling them to slow down, even though he looks like the 13-year-old who should be running ahead of all. Just thought it was an interesting touch.
It was really good. But unfortunately, Dusty is turned to dust by Golden Boy after we have that great moment in one of the classes at Godolkin where you meet Golden Boy, and Andre's like really pleased to see him. You know, it's like his mate is back, and it just, I love how dark it turns here. I love how Golden Boy shifts here, because he knows that Andre was cheating on him with Cate. And of course now Marie and Jordan also know. And, you know, just that line from Golden Boy says, "She didn't make you do it." You know, there was no touching of her hand and her manipulating him in that way.
Yep.
And then his eyes start to glow, and poor Dusty is the one that's caught and kind of like just obliterated on the wall of the lecture theatre. I was like, oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
Poor Dusty.
I know. Dusty gets dusted.
But it was also really tense as well.
I thought so.
Just the way Golden Boy just switched and became menacing and threatening to Andre.
And again, this is because Andre's memories are being pulled in as well as Kate's, I presume. So it's a bit of the guilt, I guess, of Andre for the fact that he was cheating on his best friend, who's now dead. So I guess that's part of it as well. I know you mentioned, quickly, just to go back to Soldier Boy, I know you mentioned that he ended off getting hit by lightning, but I do love the joke of that was, if there's one important thing I have to tell you, it's, and then he gets hit by lightning and gets exploded as well. So two dead characters in these scenes.
But is at least Dusty dead on the outside?
I think he is. I think that was the warning from Soldier Boy. If you die in here, you're dead. Yeah. So we never see him again in the episode. So I think Dusty might be gone.
I know. Poor old Dusty.
Does this make this the home base for Gen V then? Do they take over his house on campus? That's terrible. Look at me thinking of material stuff. Poor Dusty. We liked you for the very small amount of time that we saw you. But then this leads on to Jordan's memories. They're outside Brink's office. They see Luke freaking out on Brink's, and they're wondering, how could they possibly know this? How could Cate know this at all? And then it turns out it's actually Jordan's memory. They were there at the time. They saw everything happen, and they followed along with Brink's direction to inject Luke and knock him out. And because of that, Jordan's rewarded with the teacher's assistant job. So Jordan chose the career, the better role, the higher profile at the school over telling somebody else about this very powerful student who's freaking out, and obviously something's going on. Everybody challenges Jordan at this point, kind of going, if you had said something, You could have saved lives,
exactly.
you know? And Jordan even challenges themselves. Both versions of Jordan are talking to each other for the first time this season, where you see them both attacking each other, saying, we shouldn't have done this. He was a good man, Jordan says. And the other Jordan goes, no, he was just good to us.
Yeah, I really like that, actually, as the female Jordan says, Brink was just nice to us, that's all.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we keep doing. Anybody who's nice to us, that's all they need to do. And then we treat them better than anybody else, kind of thing. Yeah. You know? So again, another story here. You know, I said at the start, this idea of the flashback, going into Cate's mind, learning about Cate, that tends to be the story of that is, this is how you forgive Cate. And here it's actually, this is how you learn why all of the rest of you have done terrible, terrible things as well along this journey to get us to this point. None of you can throw stones inside your glass houses, basically.
Well, that's it. That whole theme that I was mentioning about, you know, is it Cate or is it Shetty or is it Godolkin? That's what's added to the equation here.
Mm-hmm.
Is it also Godolkin? Arguably, they're there because of their parents, you know, because that moves us into seeing Cate actually doing one of the deeds where you see a transfusion between Luke and Sam. But he wakes up, sees her, and she comes in and says, you know, forget what's happening. Forget Sam. He's dead. Forget the woods. And then cuts back later with, you know, again, seeing the Shetty power over her, the manipulation of her by saying to her, you know, you're doing a wonderful job.
Yeah.
Even though she's bringing her concerns to her that he's breaking down because of the times they've had to wipe his memory of the woods, of his brother, you know, of the experimentation. Yeah. She can sense that it's starting to break down, and he is able to sort of recollect, as we saw in the first episode. So, again, it just makes it wonderfully sort of constructed, I think, all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Because exactly as you say, in the first episode, we saw him having these moments where he's hearing young Sam and he's seeing the woods and connecting all of those. And then with what we've seen with the rest of the crew as their minds were wiped and as bits of memories came back, it feels like when he does get his memory back at times, it hits him like a freight train. Everything just arrives at the same time and he goes straight to take out Brink's because he knows Brink's involvement.
Exactly.
Definitely. So yeah, I can kind of see how well constructed that is throughout the season so far. But we do have Marie returning to the murder of her parents and her seeing her sister there, her sister calling out that no matter what she does, doesn't matter if she becomes a hero, she'll always be a murderer to her.
Yeah.
And that's when she has that moment of realization, what Cate had said to her at the episode before last, episode 4, where she was saying, this isn't your fault. Your parents experimented on you because they wanted some kind of superhero and an advantage in life, not even thinking of the toll it would take on you. It's not your fault. It's not any of their faults. We also heard Marie coming to that conclusion in a different way earlier on in the episode, saying, God, you was the one place I wanted to go. This was my dream to get here. And now it's even worse than the place I came from. That the orphanage for superheroes that she came from. So the dream's not working out for Cate at all. Yeah.
And then they come face to face with Cate, so they're kind of no longer observers, and they have, you know, they meet Cate, and who says, you know, I want to put this behind me. I don't want to wake up. And that's where I think you get the great scene with that, with Cate and Andre, where she kind of, you know, it's like she can't process it, deal with it anymore. She just wants a release. You know, she wants to die in this moment and everything that's happened. And I really enjoyed Andre just sort of challenging that. It says, you know, this is the moment where you actually finally have a choice. What happened with Shetty, what happened with your parents, you weren't given a choice there. It was a false choice, you know? So just wake the F up. And I just thought it was a really great scene because, you know, I think you see here that Marie recognizes they've all been affected here. And, you know, she does say to Cate once they've woken up and once she's been attacked by Sam, she just says, we need to be able to trust you, but you have to earn that trust, like claim it back. We get it. Things were bad for you. They were also bad for an awful lot of us.
Exactly.
But you can earn your trust back here. So I kind of like that. I thought it was supportive because, I think Cate in her meeting with Shetty was hugely vulnerable here.
Yeah.
And
again, Andre's not saying he's going to forgive her, but he's saying you need to deal with it. You can't just walk away from it either. So there is that challenging side from, I like that moment at the start of the episode where Andre has sidled himself off in a room after getting his memories back and is going, if I go out there and talk to her, like Marie's suggesting, because this is taking a major toll on Cate. He's going, if I go out there and talk to her, I'm going to forgive her. And I just don't want to forgive her. I'm so angry about everything that's happened. So, But
with that, it's basically, we have to do something. And if we choose to do that, there's no turning back.
Exactly.
So it's like,
they're going after Shetty. Yeah.
Off they go,
Absolutely. But also we see Sam and Emma arrive back, and Sam grabbing Cate by the throat and throwing her across the room because of everything that she did. She effectively, even though it may not be all her fault and she was being manipulated, everything that she has done led to the death of Luke, his brother, and he saw her repeatedly wipe Luke's mind.
Yeah.
He saw that happen, so he knows Cate's responsibility on that. So,
but Emma stands him down as well. Again, it's just Emma's that kind of voice of reason in a sense, saying, show that you can be something else.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good stuff. Anything else about our senior moment, John?
No, nothing more from me. As I say, I just think that theme of who's at fault here and the complication of what's happened to these young kids over the course of their short time alive, and how that's been really messed up by the decision of Shetty to target Cate for a very specific reason. And the decision of Cate to do that. But, that was her step up. It was Jordan's step up. And it was Marie's step up to come to Godolkin, but realizing that, this is in a toxic place with toxic people. I mean, we've seen that with Tech Knight and Shetty. None of these people are looking out for the welfare of their students.
Absolutely.
Far from it. And so I kind of like how that is a mitigating factor, but they also now have agency and choice to do something.
Absolutely.
And they're choosing the right thing.
Exactly. See how that plays out next week. I've got nothing else, no other notes on the episode. Just absolutely love the closing theme using Hazel Shade of Winter as the outro for the episode. I couldn't tell if it was the Bangles version or not, the one from the 80s, which was the cover of the original Simon and Garfunkel song, one of my favourite songs. But it's just normally there's a bit that I can tell. Where Susanna Hoffs, if you're old like me, one of the singers in the Bangles, you'd recognize her voice, and it doesn't sound like her voice. So I think this might be a new cover version in the style of the Bangles. There you go.
Okay, interesting.
I'm wondering. I'm going to have to check that once the internet updates. Once they press that update button on the internet to tell me who sang that song. But I do love it. It's great. Great outro.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, and one other thing we'd mentioned about the transfusions that are being given from Sam to his brother Luke. I just thought that was interesting when you tie that back through the revelations of what's happened. We hear Brinks say that Luke has been getting better and better from the extra courses that he's on, and Jordan saying, well, if he's getting extra courses, I want extra courses. And then they get the job as the teacher's assistant. What Jordan actually doesn't know is the extra courses that Luke is getting is the blood transfusions from Sam, which have been boosting up his powers and making him more and more powerful. So Jordan's effectively saying they want transfusions just like Luke got transfusions from Sam, which means they're effectively volunteering themselves for the experimentation that Luke and Sam have gone through. So I don't think they knew that.
No, but, I would say not.
But there you go. That's it, I think, for notes and points.
It certainly is. Derek, what are your overall thoughts for Gen V Season 6 Jumanji?
Do you know, once again, they've done it again. In this show. In The Boys, we thought first season we were laughing our way through episode after episode of brutal, bloody elements that are built in to shock you, and the language was phenomenally bad, and the brutality and gruesomeness was phenomenally bad. And here they are again in Gen V, giving us another very brutal show with very different takes, a good cast of of characters to begin with, and then they develop them in the background throughout the episodes, and then are able to pull out an episode like episode 6, where they're telling you a really interesting story about these characters, where it is much more serious than what we've seen in the other episodes. All the other episodes kind of hinted at the darkness going on in the background of God. This puts it front and center. All of these people have all done bad things. None of them are beyond reproach. All of them had choices they could have made along the way that would have stopped them going into these bad places, or could have put a stop to what happened with Shetty or Brinks. And none of them are great people, but now they're going to band together against the more evil people, which is people that could kill every soup on the planet in the case of Shetty, So I really like how these shows have been able to establish themselves in a certain way, develop a great story with great characters, and develop the writing in the way that they have. So I think this is a top episode for Gen V.
Yeah, absolutely.
How about yourself, John? What's your final thoughts on the episode?
I absolutely loved this episode. I thought it was constructed beautifully by having it in Cate's mind. I would give this 5 flicked beans out of 5. I just really enjoyed, as you say, to be honest, I don't have an awful lot to add to what you've said, but I just enjoyed how it was the complexity and the unpacking of, this very simple thought of who's to blame. It's Cate. And you realize actually everyone's got a role. As you say, no one's beyond reproach. But it's the decision now, knowing what you know. Are you going to continue down that route, or are you going to alter course and make a decision in order to try and correct what's happened before? And I just really, really enjoyed that. I loved the revelation with Shetty and Cordova as well around this virus, and just how that escalated, as I say, to effectively trying to make it contagious for controlling soups or killing them en masse if need be. And so, I really enjoyed that. I mean, again, even on that, you're kind of going, oh, does that mean they think they've got a real problem with all the soups? Or like the soups in all the homes where the compound V hasn't quite worked out. It's just like, if it ends up where the superpower is that they're a paddling pool with the Mexican flag on it, well, then we're going to give them a virus. So actually it's sinister as much as it is protective. What's the scope of this?
Absolutely, it really is. Like, you just don't know what Shetty's plan is. This could be, maybe it's her way to get to the top of Vault because she has the power, or as you say, it could be genocide that she's looking for. For the people that she chooses.
Really, really enjoyed this episode. 5 flicked beans out of 5.
Good stuff. I need a drink, John. Let's go. Shots. Let's go to the student bar.
Yes. Shots indeed, fellow boys and girls, and quizzers, and maybe even a side of nachos with fake cheese on as well. As we are in the boys Gen V student bar quiz. It is episode 6. And we are Jumanjiing it to question 6. How many years does Dean Shetty discover that Cate was locked in her room by her mother following the incident with her brother Caleb?
Very good. It's good to give an easy question after a deep episode like this one, isn't it? Yeah. John, do you want to give the question one more time?
Sure. How many years does Dean Shetty discover that Cate was locked in her room by her mother following the incident with her brother Caleb?
Good stuff. That's the 6th question. Put it together with the answers for the other questions. And at the end of the season, send us in the answers to all 8 questions to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com. And you could be in the chance of getting your hands on some Gen V goodies. I think we need to go over and get some feedback from our fellow boys and girls, John.
Yes.
Get it. Got it. Good.
That's my new intro for the feedback section. Get it, got it, good. I just forgot to use it.
Okay, grand.
Sorry about that.
Never mind. We have it now, fellow boys and girls. We have it now. First up, we have an email through from Coffee and Vodka. Greetings, fellow brain-flopped defenders. It seems strange from the beginning for Marie to have been accepted to Godju, given the nature of her powers. But to find out she's also protected from forestation, interester, and interestinger. So it was an inside job. Still, it was nice to see our favourite punching bag blamed for it. It's a very nice take to have Cate as much a victim as her former friends. The manipulated manipulator. Shetty shows you don't need V to have a superpower. Assuming they were all chipped, including Emma, does this mean Sam's soon to be recaptured? Also, I love his coping mechanism of seeing his soon-to-be shredded opponents as puppets. Speaking of shredding, I do have to wonder at Rufus's mobility so soon after having his room decorated with his exploding genitals.
Well, true.
Finally, all this to develop a virus that allows for control of soups, directing their power. Sort of like Suldam and Damani without the collar. Everything's connected. 4.5 sopping blowholes, viral single-serving keggers, and serious Sams out of 5. Peace and take care. Coffee and vodka.
Very good. Very good coffee and vodka. So just referencing Wheel of Time, of course, if you weren't watching that show, that's where the Suldam and Damani are, which we also covered here on TV Podcast Industries. But yeah, nice connection there that pulled out by coffee and vodka.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. This, of course, was feedback in episode 5 that came in after we recorded last week. Sorry, I should have mentioned that up front. So, of course, there's some answers given in this week's episode to some of those questions. So, Shetty, yes, definitely a big manipulator. And it's not just about controlling soup. It's also about killing them, effectively. So quite interesting. And it doesn't look like they were able to catch up with Sam. Looks like Emma got there quickly enough. They did send in the troops last week, but that's probably what happened. They may have chipped Sam, and that's how they were so easily able to find him where he was, but weren't able to go back and collect him before Emma goes in and gets him. So
yeah, and Marie had taken out her chip at least, and I guess she may have the other members of the group as well.
Yeah, she may have, because she's easily able to find it, I suppose, with her powers. So, but a very true point, probably about Rufus. I'm not too sure how much running around he's able to do after.
Yeah, no, that's valid point actually. Unless he's also got the superhero power of it growing back.
Maybe. Could be.
But yeah, great stuff, Coffee and Vodka. Thanks.
Thanks, Coffee and Vodka. Another piece of feedback on episode 5 from Jamie Lawton over in our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/TV Podcast Industries. Jamie Lawton says, love the way they show gratuitous violence with the use of puppets and a brief glimpse of young Mesmer on his TV show. Yeah, great choice there, using gratuitous violence through puppetry. Don't see enough puppets in the world anymore, so totally right, Jamie. As we're recording on release day, we haven't got much feedback in for this episode. Please keep sending yours in. Just email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com or pop on over to our Facebook group. But we did get one quick note from Derek Whitfield, who watched it as it aired and said, effing amazing.
Excellent stuff, Derek. Thank you so much. Short and sweet, I would say, on that. And yes, thank you, Jamie. I think gratuitous violence with the use of puppets. And now gratuitous sex with a riding puppet. Yes, very interesting, very creative.
Absolutely. We got a couple of extra bits of feedback, which we're recording just over our morning coffee, which works quite well because the first piece is from Coffee and Vodka.
Excellent.
No vodka at this time in the morning, though. Coffee and Vodka says, greetings, fellow fantastic voyaging defenders. Before anything, Emma totally, hey, big guy, the sun's getting real low to Sam. I seem to be seeing phase 1 everywhere I look. Could be my version of COVID. Could be worse. Could have sex hair. Of all the tropes out there, being stuck in someone else's mind and memories isn't the most tiresome, but it's close. Still, they pulled it off with an exposition clip show that showed, not told, which was very much appreciated. And Shetty is this show's striker, I guess, but instead of mutants, it's killing all the soups. Is this her plan or a benefactor's? Another decent outing, and great to hear about season 2 with all their totally podcastable shows. Prime Video should be sponsoring TVPI at this point. 4 mental countrasides, sherry popping puppets, and Soldier Boy toys out of 5. Peace and take care. Coffee and Vodka.
Excellent stuff. Thank you, Coffee and Vodka.
I think I'll get away with that because nobody else can see the spelling of that
of the countryside.
Yes,
exactly.
I think I will.
I think you can guess though, fellow boys and girls.
I think you can.
Yeah, Coffee and Vodka. Well, we're certainly trying to get L'Oreal there with hyaluronic acid. I guess we attempted to get McDonald's through our coverage of Loki.
I think we did.
But Prime Video. Are you out there?
Although after my rant last week, I don't think we'll be getting the Golden Arches support
No, I don't think
anymore.
so. No.
But I think you're right, yeah, that there is that moment that does feel like Emma talking to Sam is like Black Widow talking to the Hulk and calming him down to come back to Bruce Banner.
That is true.
That was from Avengers Age of Ultron, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was, yes. Yeah.
And Stryker, wasn't that that's the guy who was trying to kill all the mutants in all the X-Men movies?
Yes, exactly.
Yes, exactly. So, I think that's what Shetty's plan is. Still trying to work out whether it's trying to kill them all or wipe out ones that she doesn't want as well. So
I think the great thing about Shetty is, she's not a soup. She has been able to deal in the world of soups like we saw with Tech Knight from the previous episode, as well as just dealing with, I guess, the board of Godolkin, like you've got Polarity on there, plus all these children. She's just really good at manipulating young minds, but in a really bad way and for her own ends.
Yeah.
And
I suppose the fact that she wants to have this virus as a contagion rather than as something that she can administer directly to somebody, it means that she's probably not a soup. We're probably not going to get the reveal like the senator from The Boys that actually she is a soup behind it all, because...
I doubt she is a soup. And I think as well, yes, the benefactor element there is, that was, I think, to do with Marie, that she has a benefactor. Yes. But equally, yes, Shetty knows who that is and what's happening there. Maybe, I was thinking, maybe it could be her sister because of what happened, what we saw here. But that would be like sort of mini Dr. Evil, really.
It would.
She'd be quite young still.
She'd still be she's probably about 16, I'd say.
She wouldn't have the loot to be a benefactor.
Never know. Maybe she won the lottery, John.
She could have done, yeah.
Good stuff. Thanks, Coffee and Vodka.
Yeah, thanks, Coffee and Vodka. Well, just quickly though, maybe the benefactor is someone like Billy Butcher or someone that he works for.
Yeah, maybe.
Infiltration, I guess.
Yeah, could be that.
Yeah, thanks, Coffee and Vodka. We also got some feedback from David, Mr. Writer, who had some thoughts on episode 6 as well. He says, gotta love the Soldier Boy cameo. Man, that was hilarious. Cate with the Jean Grey powers was a new approach I didn't see coming. Nice little X-Men nod there. Was I the only one scared for Emma during the sex scene, especially when the puppets came out? This episode wasn't action-packed, but man, it was so good. A deep dive into their past, the range of all these actors is out of this world. They dove into their bag with this one. I can't wait for the next episode. That was also the fastest 40 minutes ever. It really sped along, and I think it was just, it was really good storytelling. Yeah. And yeah, it's good to get that background history of all these different characters who are all new, for TV. So really good.
Absolutely. Yeah, actually, that's a really good point. I meant to say that. We did get a question in about whether Marie Moreau's origin story was the same as in the comics, and Marie is new for the show, as are all the characters here. I think some of them might have been mentioned tangentially in the Boys comic books, but this series is a new series based on the world of the Boys rather than something that's being directly lifted from the comic books. Yeah. So as far as I'm aware, all their origin stories are new for the show itself. And a really good point from David Mr. Writer. Do you remember the PSA announcement that the cast of Gen V, or the characters of Gen V, did for the school about having sex for your first time with any other superhero? You don't really know the powers. Make sure you keep yourself safe. So they did do that with going and having sex in the drive-in with nobody around in case they exploded. So they did take that part. But Emma wasn't careful. Like, Sam seems like a very powerful soup. She could have blown her back out.
Or she could have been sort of shot through the head by the ejaculate.
She could have been,
fired off like a cannonball.
They didn't go that way.
Orgasm from Sam.
Yeah.
Who knows? It could have been really, really messy.
It could have been, but they didn't go that way. They went romantic.
Yes.
And nice, and seeing God 14 times.
Romantic.
But then again, maybe that was the superpower.
Yeah, exactly.
Good stuff. Thanks so much for the extra feedback there. We'll go back to our morning coffee. And of course, just to mention, we are covering Loki this week. Once the celebrations have died down around the birthdays, we will be back with our coverage of Loki Season 2, Episode 3, where we meet the timely Mr. Timely, Victor Timely.
Exactly. Yeah. Timely, wimely, Victor Timely.
Yeah, we see him again we saw him in the post-credit scene in Quantumania, so we get to see him again in episode 3 of Loki, and we'll be talking all about that later on this week.
There's not enough time in the day.
There isn't. I think we need our own little missed minutes to rewind time a bit.
Exactly.
But only if you're watching that show. None of that will make sense if you're not watching Loki, of course. But thanks so much for all the feedback.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us for our coverage of The Boys Gen V Episode 6 Jumanji.
Yes, we'll be back next time with our chat on Episode 7 of Gen V. Sick. And the next question in our Gen V student bar quiz as well. But until then, fellow boys and girls, keep watching, keep listening, and of course, keep farting your own national anthem.
I'm going to go out and practice our on the V.
Well, it requires skill, I would say.
It does. Thanks for joining us. Talk to you again next time.
Bye.